question here from our buddy Alex. He meets this hot chick at a bus stop, he says. And after texting back and forth with her over about a week, he finds that she's a little bit like demanding in her choices about where they're going to meet for the first time. And he first asserts that, maybe she's just a really controlling chick. And anyway, so finally they decide to meet at a bar. They go to the bar and they start drinking. They're having a good time. They have great conversation. He says that she begins saying things like this: "I want to teach you how to make my grandma's soup." And also she includes this idea that I'm tired of meeting and hooking up with people, and I'm really interested in a long-term relationship. And he says, "Hey, that's cool, that's fine." And then they essentially part ways at that point, not having sex that first night, which, hey, look, it's respectable. We all get it. He, of course, has got a boner and wants to bang, but hey, sometimes it's worth the wait, right? So they meet up again. This time she's a little bit more trusting and allows him to choose the place, his place, right? What better place? And they start, having a great conversation again. She lays down on his bed, and he lays down beside her. Now, as he lays down, she warns him, "Look, I'm laying down because I'm tired, not because I want to have sex." He says, "Sure, no problem, babe." Next thing you know, clothes are off, and they're giving each other oral sex. That's what he says, right? They're licking and kissing all over in spots that are usually beneath the panties, but they're not fucking yet, they're not having sex. He notices that, of course she says, she doesn't want to have sex, but, he's tongue fucking her. But he notices, she doesn't seem really into it. She's really uncomfortable about what's going on. And she says, "I'd like to stop." So they stop. And our buddy Alex is like, "Okay, cool." Little confused, it's like we got this far, and I understand that, you want long-term relationships and so on and so forth. But he wants to have sex, obviously. I mean, come on. And now she's pushing away. He's confused because he's like, "Look, I'm kind of into this idea of long-term relationship also. I'd like to find the one, but this chick is confusing the shit out of me. How do I go about it?" So I'm happy with the details that you shared with me in your long email here, because which I think you already recognize. There are a few red flags. And the overall tone of the multiple red flags that she gives you is that this woman doesn't feel safe. And safety and security, feeling cuddled up in good feelings, feeling safe, really, is a super important thing to a lot of women. I'd say most. Of course, I can't say everybody, but safety and security is priority for women, especially when it comes to not only life. Women want a man that can provide. There's no question about it. They want safety and security in that way, or if they can provide for themselves, but they're not going to be like, a wandering bum like most of us could end up being, because we're cool that way. They want safety, security. And then sexually, Wilhelm Reich, an interesting dude that I often study, often asserts to the fact that the sexual character of an individual, how they are in sex, tells a lot about who they are as a walking character, who they are in their entire life. And for whatever reason, probably based on experiences that she's had, this woman doesn't feel safe. So when she says things like, "I want to teach you how to cook my grandma's soup," that immediately tells you that this woman wants warm, cozy feelings. Grandma's soup. I mean, come the fuck on. Ha! First conversation you have with her, she wants to teach you how to make her grandma's soup? That's a dead giveaway. That she wants to feel cuddled up. She wants to feel safe. She wants you to essentially save her in a way. Save her from a cold, hard world that has stomped on her. And you don't know what that stomping might have looked like. And it's oftentimes it's unconscious, because we stuff down the trauma. We hide trauma from ourselves. She could have been sexually abused as a child. It's not unheard of. In fact, it's quite common. She could have been raped as a child, as a young girl. She could have simply had multiple bad experiences with other guys who she made herself vulnerable to. Because you got to understand this thing about women. They open themselves up not just physically but energetically. And oftentimes I say that the body is the mind. So when she opens her vagina, she's also opening her mind. She's opening who she is to someone. That's a very vulnerable place. Men, we can fuck all over the place and we never have to open up to anybody. It's like, my dick's hard, we're good. Women they kind of need, and again, this is not all women, but they need this opportunity to yield and open up their body and their mind. Themselves, who they are, has to open to let in something from the outside. This penis attached to a guy I just met. And so they have to be very careful in that way, especially if they've been in those vulnerable places, have been violated. So you don't know, and violation is very subjective. It could have simply been that, she had a boyfriend who, told her that he was a virgin also. He fucked her and said, sorry, babe, I've had sex with dozens of women. Violation, and then that can really close down her energy and close down her sexual capacities, right? So now her vagina just won't get wet for anyone until, now this is where I move up from the animal reptilian behavior activities that we want to engage in, right? Which is all lower, it's all gut, penis, balls, to where she's probably most rigid. Now, her having a cold, dry vagina is a byproduct of the prison that surrounds her heart. And she's made reference to the fact that she wants her heart to melt again. Grandma's soup. Right? And she's even willing to be vulnerable enough to take her clothes off with you, but you're not getting the pussy just yet. I'm telling you right now that what you need to do is cook some grandma's soup with her. I'm telling you, bro, and I'm not telling you out of manipulation. You don't want to manipulation is bad because it means that every action is measured by the sentiment from which it proceeds. I don't say make some fucking soup so you can bang her. That's not it. What I'm saying is you too need to become vulnerable in your heart and allow her to first of all, she was aware of this, but she began the relationship by having her own little bit of control. She needed to have that in the beginning, and you mentioned that. It's funny. I think you know all this stuff. That's why you included those details. She needed to feel in control a little bit, because when you're scared, when you're afraid, when you're vulnerable, when you've been violated, you don't want that to happen again. So you kind of like you're holding on a little bit tighter. Holding on is the opposite of orgasm. You can't hold on and have sex. You've got to let go and have sex. And the minute, when she begins to let go because she trusts you, her heart begins opening up, she's going to be able to let go and her vagina is going to open up just like a nice little flower. Right? It's a beautiful thing, the open vagina, because it says so much about the energy of the individual, of the woman. Whole body opens up, the pores open up, the eyes dilate, the mouth, everything just opens. And there you are to participate with her in that. But it's going to take warming her heart. It's going to take warming her heart, breaking up her heart. And I'm going to sound manipulative in this, but I'm giving you tips and techniques, ideas that will support you in what it looks like when her heart opens. Two things which are very indicative of her heart possibly opening up to you, which are spontaneous movements in her body. Number one is laughter, and number two is crying. If you can get her to giggle or cry, what you're doing is, what happens when you giggle? There's vibration in here, and it literally, physically. You see, I don't make too much of there's not too much of a delineation between my metaphorical speak and the literal translation of it. It breaks up her heart. It breaks up the rigidity in her heart. It softens her heart. Vibration allows things to break up. Break up her heart. Or sobbing, deep sobbing, crying, getting to the core of why she's so closed. Ask her questions about that. A good way to possibly approach this is to say to her, listen, of course, dating advice from Elliot. I'm romantic, sorry. Let's put away sex for a moment. Now, I want you to know, first of all, that I've got a thick-ass boner for you. I'd like to bang. I'd like to bang you. But I'm going to put that aside for a moment. Let's pretend like that doesn't exist. Because there's a part of me that just wants to get to know your heart. And you say to her, let's set aside sex and begin where we started with those conversations about your grandma's soup. Maybe our next date you can teach me how to make that soup. And then maybe she'll feed you some of the soup, and then you feed her some of the soup, and then, you know, all the romantic gobbledygook that's associated with that. You know what I mean? And speak with her. Get to know her at a core level, not just know her with your dick. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some romance. It's going to take some patience. It's going to take some grounding from you. And when I say that, I mean, first of all, you got to set aside your dick for a little while. That's grounding in and of itself. I mean, think about that term, grounded. You're grounded. It means you can't do fun shit. Ground your dick. And also, move from a steady place. You're going to have to be practical, pragmatic, calculative, and tippy-toe around her vulnerabilities. And if she starts acting weird, don't you fly off the handle. You know what? I had it enough with this bitch. I just can't. You know what? She doesn't want to fuck. She's always fighting with me. You can't do that. If she's worth, and you gotta ask yourself this question, if she's worth your time, she's worth the fucking frustration, and she's gonna be frustrating. In the meanwhile, jerk off, or I don't know, maybe find a fuck buddy, I don't know. But if you could set aside your dick for a little while, you'll be okay. And that's it, man. You gotta open up her heart. That's where it is. It's right here. Even when you talk to her and you say something about the heart, put your hand on her heart. Boy, what a different gesture that is. I know what we like to do. We like to rub our hips on her ass. Like, I love to do this. But instead, take your hand and put it on her heart. Or, better yet, take her hand, put on your heart, and then you allow her to take your hand and put on your heart. Say, put your hand on mine. And this is like heart sex, right? The energy moving from my heart to yours, and we both give and receive each other and bring each other close and just talk, speak, look, just be silent perhaps, with your hands on each other's hearts. Hopefully you can see me here. Hands on each other's hearts. And breathe. Soften the musculature in your face, soften the muscles in your shoulders, soften the muscles surrounding your heart. Stand firmly on your feet, knees slightly bent, and have heart sex with her first. In a few weeks, her pussy will be real wet, ready for you. Done.